Take that as a yes. So a couple things. Number one, this is actually my first webinar that I've ever given. So I'm excited. If it doesn't go that well, it's chalk it up to experience. But a couple of things. Number one, I'm not here to sell you anything. Genuinely, I have absolutely no call to actions or sales pitches in here. This is purely for value. So this is not me talking to you. This is a conversation. So please, at any time, if you have questions, comments, fire away, and I will stop and answer them. Because like I said, I don't want this to be just me sitting here talking to you. I really want this to be something of value for you guys, because I do not have an agenda. This is Thursday morning here, and I'm just hanging out. So with that being said, this presentation kind of goes off of what I spoke about or what I wrote about in that Moz article. And first and foremost, I don't know how many of you guys saw it or not, but it was called Why I Stopped Selling SEO. Just to be clear, I still sell SEO. That's how I make my money, but I do it in a very different way. It's a lot less of rank and bank, picking a keyword and ranking it. It's a lot more of really understanding what search engines want and really what people want too. And that's what this presentation talks about. So this is how to rank for any keyword that you want. So jumping right on in, delay here. So do you guys want to know the secret to SEO? Let me see a couple of ones. Type in some one if you guys want to know yes. The secret to SEO. Got some ones. You want to know how to rank for any keyword that you want. We'll take that as a yes. First and foremost, that was a little tease. Let me get into a little bit about who I am and why you might want to listen to me. So I own a digital agency called WEBRIS. We're based out of Miami. We've been in business now for about a year, and we've just been experiencing tremendous and explosive growth month over month from literally doing exactly what I'm going to talk about in here. And it's not rocket science. It's nothing, crazy, but it's just really taking content marketing and SEO and mashing them together to get some pretty incredible results. So I've written for Moz, as you can see, Search Engine Journal, Ahrefs, SitePoint, Unbounce. I mean, the list goes on and on. I've done SEO for a lot of Fortune 500 companies, Sapient, Nitro, Accenture, Department of Defense. I've done it for Carnival, a lot of big companies. So I got some good experience in my past working with big companies and really understanding how they do SEO and how I can apply that to small and mid-sized businesses. So get back into it. We are crushing Google right now. Here's a screenshot from my agency's Google Analytics account, and this is filtered for organic traffic, as you can see. And you can just see this is filtered by week. We're doing about 5,000 page views a week now, all from organic. And you can just see the site was launched in January, and just see explosive growth from organic traffic that we're getting from just doing, again, everything that I'm going to talk about in this presentation. Nothing crazy, and it's something that you guys can all apply to what you guys are doing or what your clients are doing as well. And on top of that, if you Google any of our quote unquote, money keywords, if you Google anything related to Miami SEO, like if you Google the best SEO company in Miami, you see me down there ranking #1 in local, ranking #1 or 2 in organic as well for Miami SEO, the best Miami SEO company in Miami, all of this stuff. And this is really without, doing aggressive SEO for these keywords. It's really just doing what I'm going to talk about in here and raising the overall authority of my domain while capturing traffic from all of the corners of the web too. And what happens is when you do that, the keywords that you want to rank for, they pick up organically and naturally and really the right way without having to spam it for, the old school link building with PBNs of, exact match, anchor text, and all that fun stuff. You really don't have to do that. And that's what I'm going to talk about a lot more in here. So getting back into it, do you guys want to know the secret to SEO? Do you want to know how to rank for any keyword? Are you sure? Yes, I'm going to tell you. It's really straightforward. All you have to do is build something of value to your customers and then go out and promote the living shit out of it. Sorry, I tend to curse a little bit. So build something of value to your customers and then go out and promote it. It sounds really simple and it sounds really stupid, but it works, and it works like crazy. So the SERPs right now, they're just dominated by brands. I mean, you Google anything that's, kind of money related or money keyword related, whatever you want to call those keywords, and brands dominate the SERPs, right? The Best Buys, the Targets, the Amazons, the Yelps, they just crush it right now. And for smaller sites, it's really, really hard to compete in this algorithm. But the thing is that brands are made. I mean, it's not like Amazon walks up to Google and is like, hey, we're a brand, guys, or, the people at Google don't sit there and, manually record the fact that Amazon is a brand. Brands are made in Google by a certain amount of signals, right? I mean, it's an algorithm that's literally telling Google what a brand is. And those signals are relevant, authoritative links from quality sites, good sites, not private blog networks. This is social media shares. It's getting active on the social web and getting your links passed through really where people are hanging out in the web. I mean, 90% of us spend our time on social media sites. So if your content is not getting pushed through those sites, you're not really relevant. And Google sees these things, even though they're quote unquote no follow links, they see this. And then number 3 are brand mentions. And this is just building a buzz for your brand, right? I mean, it's not always about links. It's just getting talked about on the web and building a buzz for your brand. And honestly, these signals cannot be faked. I know a lot of SEOs use things like PBNs, and I used to too, in social signals and user signals. So I just want to take a quick second and debunk these here for a second, because honestly, up until about 8 months ago when I launched this new site, I was doing everything the black hat or gray hat way. And I wasn't really considered, like most people, I didn't consider myself a black or gray hat SEO. I was just doing what worked, right? I mean, up until about a year ago, private blog networks were killing it. They were killing it. But Google made some adjustments to the algorithm and they just don't work anymore. And it's really simple, guys. If you think about what a private blog network is, how many people, let me just see real quick. Let me see some ones typed in here for anyone that uses private blog networks or has used them in the past. So I don't waste my time. If you guys don't use them, then it's fine. All right, so basically what private blog networks are, they are websites that people use for link building. And what people do and SEOs do is they go to a site like GoDaddy where you can register drop domains, and they buy them, they pick them up for cheap, and then they use them for link building. The problem is that it's not hard to tell when a domain was dropped. I mean, I can tell when a domain was dropped just by dumping it into a tool like SEMrush. And if I can tell, then Google can tell as well. So I mean, like using PBNs and for link building, that just doesn't work anymore because Google's algorithm has gotten so intelligent that it picks up on this stuff, and you just get diminishing returns. And honestly, you spend more time trying to fake these signals than just going out and doing it the right way, which I'm going to show you. It's a complete waste of your time and money and resources. So PBNs, you can argue me all you want, but they just don't work like they used to. Social signals. This is, I see a lot of vendors these days selling, tweets and selling Facebook shares, but when they're coming from dead, irrelevant accounts, they don't hold any weight. And again, that's not hard to tell. If one Twitter account is tweeting, insurance links, and then the next day it's tweeting lawyer links, and like whatever people are paying for, it just holds no weight, and it just looks like spam. It doesn't help you out. And then finally, user signals. So a big part of SEO now is quote unquote the user experience, right? So things like bounce rate. When people come to your website from Google and then bounce right away, that tells Google that your website might not have been a good result for that query. So over time, you lose ranking. So what a lot of SEOs are doing now is they are sending bots, they're sending fake traffic to websites through Google, and they're making it stay on your website. Again, this is just complete spam, and it doesn't work. You can argue me all you want, but like there's nothing, I mean, the variance of IPs, I mean, there's so many different factors that go into it. It just doesn't work. So, you just can't fake these signals. These signals are earned, right? And these signals are earned by building something of tremendous value and really connecting with people, right? I mean, like you look at that article that I wrote for Moz that got, well over a couple thousand social shares, well over 200 comments. I mean, the amount of links that it got, and I didn't have to do anything. Obviously it's on Moz, but I didn't have to do any sort of, spam to get it to do that. All I did was write something tremendously powerful that resonated with my audience, and it went viral, right? So I'm going to talk a little bit about that in here, and this is how to build something of value. So First and foremost, value doesn't have to mean that you create exclusive or newsworthy content, right? Value is all about striking an emotion with your audience. It's evoking a new thought, a way of thinking, a feeling, or just being a bright spot in somebody's day, right? I mean, the article that I wrote for Moz is kind of a perfect example. I picked a controversial point, right? It was what everyone in the SEO industry sees. They see, like, the SERPs are changing, right? There's no denying that. And I played on that. And I played on the fact that a lot of SEO is just not working anymore. And again, I just played on that, knowing that it would go viral and knowing that it would strike an emotion with people, and it worked. So, picking an argument, picking a side, and then backing it up with data is a great way to create value through content. And people want to hear your voice. A lot of times, when I do content audits for especially large companies, they write in the third person. And it's just boring. Nobody wants to read a research paper online, right? I mean, people want to hear your voice. They care. I mean, honestly, how many people on the web talk about content marketing? 1 million people, but you're taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about it because you want to hear my opinion on it. You want to hear my take on it. So it's really, really important to inject your voice, and it's really important to also do it consistently, time and again. So, don't hold back. Do not care what people think. Have a voice. Have an opinion, be a human, and be yourself, guys. I mean, you can see in here, I've already cursed a couple of times. I know it turns some people off, but you know what? At the end of the day, that's me. And, I definitely am alienating some customers when I do that. But at the same time, I've been doing this long enough to know that I only want to work with people that want to work with me and that people that I get along with. I mean, when I take on a client, it's building a relationship, right? I mean, I don't want them for 1 month. I want them for 10 years as a client. And in order to do that, you have to connect with them, right? It's not just, providing a service, because people do business with people that they like. And, I've had enough toxic client relationships to know that if we are just fundamentally different in how we view things, if you have a problem with me cursing, then shit, I mean, we're probably not going to have a good client relationship. So, it's very tough at first if you're running a business. I'm not saying you have to go out there and curse, but I'm saying that, like, you should be yourself, right? I mean, talk like you talk to your friends, talk like you talk to your colleagues. It doesn't have to be like a robot up there talking. It's not interesting, right? I mean, you really want to make your content interesting, because if you do, it's going to make getting those signals, those shares, those links much, much, much easier. So, first things first. It's very tedious, but for all my clients, I build an audience profile. I mean, it's really, really important to understand when you're creating something, who you are targeting, who are you talking to? I mean, who is your customer? So building an audience profile of looking at who they are, what they do for a living, where do they live? Are they in the United States? Are they in Russia? Are they in Brazil? What do they do for a living? Where do they spend their time online? This is incredibly important, because when it comes to promoting your content and getting those signals on your content, you have to know where to go. So, especially with how the web is going, we are becoming just increasingly fragmented. I mean, if you use Facebook, you probably don't use Snapchat or Instagram, right? I mean, you might use them, all of them. I have all of them because I'm a marketer, but I know for a fact that, I look at what my girlfriend does and her behavior. Like, she uses Snapchat and Pinterest. She doesn't even go on. She has a Facebook profile, but she never goes on there. She has a LinkedIn profile, but she never goes on there. She doesn't read Forbes. So if I want to reach somebody that's in my girlfriend's demographic, 26 years old, I don't know, likes to shop and shit. I don't really know. I'm not here to talk about my girlfriend, but you get the point, right? I mean, if you want to reach her demographic, you have to know where she hangs out. So if you're marketing on Facebook, you're not going to reach her. If you're marketing on LinkedIn, you're not going to reach her. So you have to really understand and put that on paper where your audience hangs out. And then finally, you really want to know how you can add value to them, right? I mean, so, again, if I'm trying to reach my girlfriend and I'm writing an article about, about SEO, I'm not going to reach her because she doesn't care, right? I have to really dig in and understand what it is that she wants. What are her pain points? And you do that through checking forums, through Quora. Quora is a great place. BuzzSumo is a free tool that you can check for social shares on content. I mean, it's really just getting active in those places where your audience is hanging out and finding out what they're talking about, engaging in those conversations. I use Facebook groups all the time. I actually have a coupon client, and I just joined a bunch of coupon groups. I don't know the first damn thing about online coupons, but it's, I'm realizing it's like a cult. I mean, people love coupons. It's crazy. And I'm learning a lot about who my client's target audience is just by joining these Facebook groups, and I see them post on my mini feed and see what they're talking about. So it really helps me to focus on our content creation and our content promotion. So knowing your audience is really key. And then getting the content written. So, again, I write a lot of the marketing content for my business and my clients, but if I'm doing this for clients, like my coupon client, I can't write about coupons, and I'm not going to pretend like I know how to, because while I can write well, you need somebody that's a subject matter expert. If you really want to connect with people on a deep level, you have to be speaking their language. I mean, all the way down to how you talk is huge when you're creating content. So, I don't like to use writing sites. I'm not going to drop any names to disrespect them, but I don't use big content sites because they're just content farms that just crank out, mid-level content at best. I like to go to the sites that my customers or clients read. So again, if I'm trying to target people that read finance, then I'm going to go to the biggest finance sites, and I'm going to find the writers that are, writing those articles that I like, and I send them a message. I just find them on LinkedIn, I find their email address, and I send them a message, and I ask them if they freelance, because all writers do freelance. So it's an easy way to find really, really high quality content writers that really have an in-depth knowledge of the subject. And on top of that too, if you contact somebody that writes for Forbes and ask them if they freelance, you can also leverage them to write for Forbes and, possibly steal a link in there. That's a little tip that I use to do some high quality link building right there. So, getting the content written is very important. Creating content that people want to read. So again, this kind of piggybacks off what I said before, but I mean, what information is your audience actively seeking? What information are you actively seeking? This is what I personally use when I create content, because I'm in the trenches doing marketing every day, I am constantly hitting problems. And when I hit a problem, all I do is I figure it out, right? And I know that if I'm having that problem, I know that my audience is having that problem too. So I just wrote a post about how to find a top-notch content writer, because I was struggling to find content writers. I was doing what everybody else was doing, which was going to, the writers.com and hiring somebody off there through their back-end platform, and I was getting shitty results. So, I figured out that the best way to get content was to hire freelance writers from the sites that I wanted to be on. So I wrote about it, and stuff like that. It provides a lot of value for my audience. So taking the pain points that you have and then how you fix them and creating content around that works extremely well. And same thing, have you done anything cool lately? People love case studies. People love to hear about how you drove over 10,000 visits to your site in that month. So just write about it. Create content around that. This is important for you SEOs out there. Try not to kill yourself over keywords. Pick the biggest ones and move on. This is really a big pain point with me. When I work with some of these bigger companies and they've got massive lists of keywords, if you sell vodka, you need a tool that tells you that, buy vodka is one of your keywords. You know what I'm saying? And what happens when you do this is people, SEOs especially, they create content around keywords, which is a huge mistake, because what you're doing, instead of creating good content that's relevant and timely, you're writing content that's like, oh, buy vodka, stuff like that, that people it just doesn't read well. I mean, first and foremost, content quality comes before anything. The keywords, if you're writing about what your audience cares about, the keywords will naturally be in there, because you've also got to understand these tools, they don't really know shit, right? I mean, they're picking up data on the back end. 50% of Google searches have never happened before. So you have to create timely content that people are actively talking about. And that doesn't come from, digging through Keyword Planner and looking for, keyword synonyms. If you're looking for keyword synonyms, you've got other problems, right? I mean, you should just be creating content for what your audience wants, not based on keywords. So what really, really matters is keyword intent. So, understanding that different searches trigger vastly different results. I mean, you want to be prepared, you want to be creating your content based on searcher intent, not keywords. So I have a perfect example actually from a client of mine. They're in the agriculture business. Somebody just asked me, how do I know that 50% of searches have never happened before? It's a data point that I saw online. And I've heard it a bunch of times before. Yeah, I should have linked to it, my bad. But I didn't, so moving on. So, just going back to my client who's in the agriculture business, they told me that they wanted to rank for corn. And, I kind of scratched my head and, so they don't sell corn. They don't sell corn as a food. They sell, products that help you grow more corn. So they're looking for corn as a crop, not corn as a food. So the problem is if you use the keyword planner tools for corn, all you see are keywords that come up for corn as a food. So if we're writing their content for corn as a food, we're completely targeting the wrong audience. So what you want to really do is make sure that you're digging into keyword intent. This is an illustration from, just typing, into Google, using the autocomplete to see what people are searching for. But more importantly, it's just writing your content the right way. This is why you need a subject matter expert, because if I hired somebody online to write about corn, they're going to write about the history of corn, and corn is a food, and corn is, how you can cook with it. That has no value. That's not what we're trying to rank for, right? We want to rank for how to grow more corn, how to yield more corn, stuff like that. So we really want to make sure that we're formatting our content based on intent and not based on keywords. So again, I'm going to run you through the different types of content, because different types of content ranks differently. There's short form content. You've got Q&A posts. You've got your opinion blog posts. You've got long form content. You've got your roundups. You've got your in-depth topic discussions. You've got your FAQs, your wikis. I'm actually leveraging this on my site. I'm building out a wiki on my site to target much more high-level top of the funnel traffic. I'm writing literally definitions of what digital marketing terms are, like what is click-through rate, stuff like that. And I'm starting to see an increase in organic traffic. It's definitely not buyer traffic, but I'm just retargeting that traffic down the line on Facebook and so in different places to recapture that traffic as down the funnel traffic. But, FAQ and wiki content ranks differently for different searches, so for, oops, I hit the wrong button. Oh, we're good. So FAQ type content definitely ranks differently than a long form type content, right? If you're searching for a quick answer to something, this is the type of stuff that's triggering in the knowledge graph. Sorry, I was trying to get back to this slide. This is the type of stuff that's triggering in the knowledge graph, right? What is click-through rate? You don't want to write long-form content about click-through rate. You want to write something short to the point, probably in bullet points, because that's what's going to rank, right? Understanding that different types of content rank differently for different keywords with different intent. So, slide shares are another great ones. Sometimes they don't rank as well in search, but understanding that people are using slide share to search for content. So getting your content on slide share is important too. Videos obviously are self-explanatory. If you're creating how-to content, I strongly suggest that you create a video and get it on YouTube, because how-to searches, someone's going to ask me about this data again, but how-to searches on YouTube are up 70% year over year. So let me say it again. How-to searches are up 70% on YouTube year over year. That means that people are actively looking for video content when they're looking for how to do something. And it's just common sense, right? You're thinking, if you're looking for ways on how to tie a tie, with a suit, you don't want to read a 10,000 word article about how to tie a damn tie. You want to watch a quick, 2-minute video that shows you. So if you're creating how-to content, video formatting is a great way to go. Then there's ultimate guides. This is what I wrote about for my content marketing, which pretty much what this presentation is based on. Ultimate guides rank very well in search, right? But this is, it's a science in itself. But ultimate guides rank very, very well for bigger keywords. And if you're trying to target bigger keywords, like I'm trying to rank for content marketing, so I created the ultimate guide to content marketing. And then this is important too. So I'm really big on this right now. This is retooling your content, repurposing your content for different platforms. So again, just going back to understanding that, if I want to reach my girlfriend, who's a 26-year-old female who likes to shop, I need to understand that she is only in certain places, right? She's not going to be on LinkedIn. So, while it's still important for me to be on LinkedIn, how can I reach her on Snapchat? And I cannot reach her on Snapchat with a long form guide. I have to create content for Snapchat. So, you have to understand that you can take one piece of content. You look at this, what I'm doing right now, this presentation started as a guide online, and now I'm reformatting it into a slide share document and, presenting it as a webinar. So understanding that one piece of content could be used on many different channels. I could still take this and I could put it on Snapchat, right? In short, different snaps. I could put it on Twitter. I can put it on, I plan to upload this to SlideShare. I plan to upload the video of this to YouTube, right? So, there's a million different ways that you can take your content and get it in different places to reach your audience. It's not all about your website, right? So again, going back to the SEO stuff, just making sure that if you're creating the content on your site, which it should ultimately live on your site partially, make sure it's structured for search. And everyone knows about this, the URL, title and header tags, images, make sure that they're compressed for speed. Don't put some 5,000 bit image on your on your page, because it's going to slow it down. It's going to turn people off. It's going to drive people away. It's also important to understand, where is this content going to live? Is it going to be a blog post? Is this going to be a guide? You have to create a separate section on your website for guides. And actually, looking at my website, webris.org, you can see how I had to restructure my navigation to accommodate for all the content that I create. I actually created a top-level nav for Learn, and then I have, got my headphones here. I created a separate section for trainings, for free guides, for blogs, and for video blogs, because I have so much content and I want people to be able to discover it. If I just pushed it all to my blog, very important content would get pushed down and never seen. So, you want your content to live in perpetuity, right? You want it to be evergreen. You want people to continuously find your content once they get to your site. So it's really important to understand how you're going to put it on your site and structure it for internal search as well as external search. So finally, if you're not interested, they won't be either. So, this is tough, because if you're doing this for a client, then you just got to go out and hire somebody who knows their shit, plain and simple. But interesting content comes when you're truly interested, right? I mean, in case you guys haven't noticed, I'm taking time out of my busy schedule on a Thursday morning at 9 a.m. to give you guys a free webinar. Like, I love this shit. I love digital marketing. I really do. I'm passionate about it. And I hope that you can tell that by me taking time out of my schedule and building this shit 60-page PowerPoint to give you guys for free. Like, my passion shines through, right? It's important that when you're creating something that, if you're passionate about it, it will be better, I promise you. So, just a tip for starting a business, just because, kitten socks, there's a big demand for kitten socks. If you don't give a shit about kitten socks, I wouldn't suggest that you go into the kitten sock business, because, you might make a couple sales, but at the end of the day, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, if you're not excited to wake up every single day and work 20 hours a day to build something, it's not going to work out. You're not going to have explosive success. I hope that you can prove me wrong on that, but it is what it is. So be passionate about what you're doing. And again, if you're doing this for a client like I am, just go hire somebody that's passionate. It works too. So now to the fun stuff. I bored you with creating content. Now let's talk about some content promotion strategies. And really, honestly, guys, these are the exact strategies that I have used to absolutely explode not only my organic traffic. I mean, you saw that organic traffic is only about 40% of my site traffic. I mean, I do a ton of traffic from social, a ton of referral traffic, a ton of email list traffic, because I worked really hard to build relationships, and I'm going to talk about that in here. So I've got it broken down into owned, earned, and paid channels. So first, let's talk a little bit about owned channels. So, obviously, if you've got, and just to back up for a second, the owned section is very straightforward and boring. So feel free to grab a cup of water right now if you want. But if you've got an email list, send an email to them straightforward. I have a newsletter list of about 3,000 people, and all I really use it for is to, send out some links to my content and to just say what's up every now and again. Plug, if you want to join my email list, please feel free to. Push it to your social channels. Obviously, I know everyone does this. This goes without saying. And then repurpose your content across channels. Put it on YouTube, put it on SlideShare, make sure it's on social in native content form. I like to use my email signature, actually. If you guys think about how many emails you send or how many emails your company sends during the course of a day, simply just including a link in your email signature is a great way to drive, I don't know, like an extra 50 visits a day, depending on how many emails that you send. So, leverage places that get visibility and exposure. I do it in my Twitter profile. I get a lot of traffic on Twitter. My followers are growing by about 1,000 a month now. So a lot of people are viewing my, obviously this isn't for everybody, but a lot of people view my Twitter profile. So I understand that. And I always include a link to my latest piece of content in my Twitter profile with a slight call to action that says, hey, check out my latest post. It's a great way to drive some extra traffic. So also notify influencers that are included in your content. So I'm going to talk about this a little bit more. No, let me talk about it right now. So when creating content, one of the strategies I like to do is actually strategically linking out to people that I know have a big following on social media or on some communities that I'm a part of, like inbound.org or growth hackers. So what I'm doing is I am adding value to them by linking to them. A link from a quality site, I built my site into a quality domain. A link from my site is valuable. So, I do my research ahead of time. I find some influencers in my space. I just know this based on being in the space, linking out to like a Neil Patel or like a Brian Dean, people like that. If I link to them and I send them an email saying, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I included you in my latest guide. You can check it out here. 9 times out of 10, if they're a decent human being, they're probably going to tweet it for you. They're probably going to push their social. They're probably going to upload it on Growth Hackers. All of that stuff is very important and a very, very, very easy way to get some additional exposure on your content. Calling your relationship. So I, firmly believe in building relationships is the most important part of marketing because, especially when it comes to SEO and link building, which is still incredibly important and valuable to getting exposure on your site. The easiest way to build links is just to hit people up that you've done business with in the past and say, hey, I've got a great article for your site, or, I got a new piece of content, it would fit great in here. And if you've got a relationship with that person, it's a very easy way to get them to link to it or to get them to promote it. So, call in your relationships. If you have friends in the business or I strongly suggest that you work on making friends in the industry because it'll really help you to get some additional exposure on your stuff. So now let's talk about earned channels. That was owned channels. Those are things that you have complete control over. Earned is going out and putting in the legwork to get it done. So first things first, forums are not dead. You need to find good forums that are related to your content, like a Warrior Forum. Warrior Forum is a great forum. It's not spammy at all. It's a great place to promote content. Get in there, get a part of the conversation and drop a link to the content that's relevant. The key is honestly finding relevant forums that are about, whatever your content is about, and aligning that up and dropping a link in there. Get active in communities. I love inbound.org. I'm killing it on inbound.org right now with content promotion. I've driven like about 5,000 visits from inbound.org just over the past 2 months, maybe, just from building relationships with people in there and consistently creating good content and promoting it there. And I built up a little name for myself in there, and it's really powerful. Growthhackers.com is another great one. There's a million sites like this, and they're actually available to any niche. You just kind of got to do the research to find them, and they're extremely powerful places to promote content. Social media groups are another great one. I actually started my own Facebook group. We're about to hit 3,000 members probably by the end of this month. I started it just to add value to people, to have a conversation point as a slight branding play for myself. But they're also a great place to promote content. I mean, Google Plus communities are a great one. Social media groups are a great one. They're all over the place. The point is that you just got to go out there and find them. And, the key is to not spam them. The key is really, I know it's a pain in the ass, but the key is to build relationships with the moderators. Because if you can get on the good side of the moderator and you can become friends with them and provide value to them in some way, they're going to allow you to promote content in there over and over again, and it's not going to be spam. So, first and foremost, you've got to find active communities and just go to your favorite social media platform, like Facebook, and just search for them. Go to Google Plus and search for them. Search for them based on your keyword, and you will find them. Join them. I suggest that you post a couple of times with no links for about a month. Just answer some threads. Provide value. Show your face in there. Let people know that you're there. And then over time, you can build up the trust to start dropping some links in there and promoting. And then, you hit the right group. I'm a part of some Facebook groups that got like 5,000 people in there. And I built relationships with the people in there. And they love when I promote my content there because they know it's something good. So, I've driven about 15,000 visits from Facebook groups alone over the last 6 months, just killing it off of them by just building relationships and providing value through good content. So social media groups are a great way to get some earned traffic to your site. Blog comments are another good one. I mean, they kind of fall into the category of forums where people think they're spammy, but when they're done the right way, they're incredibly powerful. And the key is to just find blogs that are relevant. Like I use neilpatel.com all the time because it's a great site, and he gets like, 100 comments on his posts. So all I do is I go in there, I read his latest posts. I write a really well thought out blog comment. I'm talking about like 5-6 lines, really address the main points of it. And then at the end, I'll be like, hey, by the way, I wrote a relevant post just like this, and I'll drop a naked link to it. And what that does is, when he's got 10,000 people viewing his page and, 10% of them scrolling down to see the comments, if you write a good comment and catch some attention, it's an extremely easy way to just drive some traffic through that link. So blog comments on the right blogs, and they're also a good link building technique. I still use them for some of my clients to build some naked URL profile links. They're powerful. Reporter outreach. This one is tough. This one is it takes a lot of skill and experience to get used to it, but it's an incredibly powerful way. Obviously, if you've been on entrepreneur.com, to promote your content. And the way that you do this is by pitching value. So let me talk about reporter outreach real quick, just as a whole. So if you want to get on an entrepreneur.com or an inc.com or New York Times, whatever big media site that you want to get on, or whatever's big in your country. Sorry, I'm talking about the US here. The key is to provide value. You have to understand that two things. Number one, these reporters are they're under the gun to write content. Like, they have to write something every day. I don't think you understand how hard that is. I write for a couple sites regularly, like every other week, and that's hard as shit to write every other week. But these people are writing like every day. So they need content ideas. They need story ideas. So, they're actively looking for stuff. It's not spam if you pitch them something good. The key is to pitch them something of value, right? You have to understand, so you got to do your research, number one. Go to the site that you want to get on, if it's entrepreneur.com, and just look through, look for relevant content. If your business is about, an SEO agency, look for people that are writing about digital marketing. Look for people that are writing about anything related to your space, right? And then find those authors and follow them on Twitter, follow them on LinkedIn, add them, just get a little, face value with them. Do not pitch them at first, but just follow them and see what they're writing about. Add some value by retweeting their links, plus wanting it on Google Plus, whatever that may be. Find some way to add value. And then over time, they're going to understand who you are in the back of your head. Like, if you're constantly retweeting my links, I might not know you personally, but like, I have that sort of recognition with you, right? So I understand who you are. So when you then go to pitch them, it's not just like a random pitch. You can be like, so talking about this lady in the presentation here, like, hey, Nina, I've been following you on Twitter for a while, really enjoy your stuff. I see that you're constantly writing about digital marketing tactics. I actually just wrote a guide about content marketing, and then, give her some main points that she can write about, and then send her the link. And that's it. That's the pitch right there. So, honestly, what you're sending her has to be really good. They're not, at an entrepreneur, they're not going to link to some rinky-dink little guide. It has to be top-notch stuff. But, you're providing value to her. You're giving her something to write about. And if you can format that in the point of a story, she's going to cover it, I promise. It's not really that difficult. The key is just to be patient, find the people that are writing about your stuff, actively engage with them, and then when the time is right, pitch them something of value, and you've got a good chance of getting covered. It's not really that difficult. So the next one I want to talk about is link roundups. I love link roundups. They are a tremendous promotional and link building strategy. A link roundup is when a site just does top 10 blog posts of the week. All you got to do, honestly, is just do some Google searches for your keywords. So if it's content marketing plus link roundup, and you're going to find a ton of them. It's not really that hard to find. And then again, you just send an email with a pitch to your stuff. So you send an email saying, hey, so-and-so, I just wanted to send you a quick pitch for inclusion in your weekly roundup. Here's a link to the post. It's all about content marketing. Thanks for your time. Keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it to the point. And again, the link roundups are great because these people are actively looking for links to include. It's really difficult to do link roundups because you constantly have to be reading stuff on the web. So if you can get a pitch from somebody that is giving you exactly what you need, you're providing them value, and you have a very, very, very good chance of being included. But again, you have to have a good piece of content to be pitching on the back end. Resource pages are another great one. Again, these are better for link building than promotion, but again, resource pages are just, I can see the example here. This is from Kissmetrics, 58 resources to help you learn and master SEO. So if you've got a great guide about SEO, it's an easy pitch to just find the email address from Kissmetrics and be like, hey guys, you know, I've got a really great resource on SEO. I think it would fit perfectly in your guide right here. Send them a link to their guide, send them a link to your post, and then just send it. It's really easy, and it doesn't take a lot of time. On top of that, what you can do is broken link building. So broken link building is good to do on resource pages. So, you know, just using the Kissmetrics example again, you go to the Kissmetrics post, you run a little plugin on the top of your screen. It's you know, just Google check my links, and you'll get a free plugin that checks broken links on a page. You run it on a resource page. If there's a broken link, you just go to the same pitch and you say, hey, you know, in your guide to learning SEO, there's a broken link here. I've actually got a great guide on SEO if you want to replace it. That's how you do broken link building. Extremely easy and very high success rate if you can find the right content as well. This is my go-to, right, for high visibility blogs. Obviously, you know, I am here because I wrote for Moz. You know, that's a byproduct of how powerful guest posting is. It's not just about rankings and links. It's about brand equity and spreading your reach. Again, it just comes from guest blogging. So, I mean, finding high visibility blogs and writing for them. And that's, you know, again, you get the high quality links to your site, to your content. That's going to help it rank. You're going to get traffic and you're going to get exposure and brand exposure, especially, which is really powerful. So I actually use SEMrush to gauge the power of a guest post because it tells you potential traffic. I like to write for sites that have traffic. I don't look at DA. I don't look at TrustFlow or any of that crap. I look at traffic. Traffic is the only thing that matters. If you build links on sites that drive traffic, you will drive rankings. That's all that matters. That's it, period. Traffic is way more important than anything else. I've been doing link building now for a lot of companies of various sizes. You know, we built over 5,000 links in the last year alone for clients. The links that drive rankings are the links that drive traffic. So SEMrush is really the only SEO tool that I use. It's incredibly powerful because it tells you the estimated traffic for a site and how many keywords it's ranking for. So if you're a link builder, I strongly suggest that you check out SEMrush. Now let's talk quickly about paid channels. You know, I don't leverage these as much. I do these more for client campaigns, but you know, retargeting is an incredibly powerful tool. I mean, retargeting on Facebook especially is really my go-to, and then creating lookalike audiences, and then, you know, doing that again and again and again. It's just an incredible way to reach a lot of people at a very low cost. Take out a press release. So again, I want to cover this for a second. So a lot of people do press releases. It'll be like, oh, you know, my business is having a company event, which is cool. I mean, that's a good way to promote stuff, but I actually like to take out press releases for the content, not for the business. So, you know, for example, my content marketing guide, I took out some press releases that was talking about the guide, and it was pretty much a summary of the guide, and it had all the value points in it, and then a link to read more. So what that does is it's just like pitching reporters, because what they see is, you know, a reporter is never going to, unless you're a target, you know, a reporter is never going to cover a story about your business. They're just not, because it's not interesting. Sorry, I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but like, our businesses as businesses are not interesting. Reporters want to cover stories. So you take out a press release that's about the content. So I took out a press release that was about, you know, all about content marketing. And it literally was like 500 words, a summary of the article. And it got picked up by some local local people in Miami because, you know, it's a story. It's interesting. It's what people care about. People are more interested. Like, if I got on this webinar and started talking about my business and selling you on my services, every one of you would leave. But I'm here talking about, you know, the guide to content marketing that I wrote, and it's interesting. So again, it's all about value. It's all about having a story and, you know, just being interesting. Sponsoring a post, I use this for link building mostly. I just find a lot of websites, a lot of bloggers, and I'll just pitch them money for a post. You know, I'll find them and I just send them an email template that says, hey, you know, we're looking to help promote a post on our website. We're not looking for banner ads because they don't do anything. We're looking for native content like a blog post. Do you accept sponsored posts? And I pay, like, you know, $50 to $100 to get a post on their site and a nice fat followed link too. So it gets you the exposure and it also gets you that link. Next slide. So promoted stories or syndicating content, comes from sites like Outbrain. You go to CNN and you see the read more stories, and you see recommended here by Outbrain at the bottom. It's called content syndication. It's just a great, easy way to get some more exposure, and 50 cents a click, and probably even less for most of these sites to drive traffic to your content. Leverage influencers. I already talked about this a little bit before. The best way to leverage influencers is to include them within the content, and that way you have an easy pitch for them to help promote your stuff. Paying for an email blast. If you've got a really good piece of content, there's a lot of email lists out there, a lot of people that have good email lists, like myself. I only have 3,000 people, but, I can drive a good 500 visits, and, hey, I'm available to promote some content in there. So it's just a matter of finding the right people and sending them a pitch, asking them. Video advertisements, I love, especially on Facebook. YouTube pre-roll are pretty effective as well too. Obviously, you have to reformat your content to get it into video format to be eligible for these, but I strongly suggest that you do, because it's an extremely cheap way to advertise and reach people. So, deep breath. I just spoke for a long time. So if you can do everything that I said in this presentation, you will get this. You will get this traffic increase. You will get this organic traffic increase. The key is to focus on, number one, providing value. It's all about providing value. If you're providing value and you're promoting it the right way, I promise you 100% you will have this exact same traffic increase. And more importantly, which I know a lot of SEOs care about, your quote unquote money keywords will rank, because you're going to do so much damage promoting the goodness and the authority of your domain and building yourself into a true brand, that your target pages are going to rank automatically because you've done such a good job with that, right? I mean, Google loves brands. They love to see these signals. And the only way that you're going to build these signals is by building content. I mean, you will never, ever, ever be able to get these type of signals to a product or services page without spam, right? I mean, you can build PBN links till the cows come home to try and fake these signals and send fake social signals at it, but you'll never compete with the real social signals. So, the key is to kind of take a step back, and, it's difficult as a business owner, especially if you're focused on ROI, to not focus on ranking your money pages, but more importantly, to just build yourself into an online brand. And honestly, guys, I did this in 4 or 5 months. It's not like this took me 5 years. This only took me a couple of months. I mean, you see the increase in traffic over time. Let me go back to this other slide real quick. I mean, you look at the jump. So I started in January, and really until May. May is when you start seeing that sharp traffic increase from organic. So, call it, 4.5 months. And then I started seeing those big jumps in organic traffic. That's how long it takes. It takes time. It takes investment of your time, but it works. So that is all that I got. Again, my name is Ryan Stewart. Here's some of my social handles, my Facebook page, and my website if you want to check it out. I am now, I was open for questions the whole time, but please, if you guys have any questions, fire away.
Yeah, I think we do have a question from Melissa. Could you read it out loud?
Yeah. Do you use unique images? Does a client provide you with those, or do you make them yourself? So yes, that's a great question. So it depends. So for the content, so everything that you see in this guide, actually all those little graphics, I'm not sure if you're talking about those. I have a designer. My designer made those. And for a client, if I'm doing it depends on the piece of content that I'm creating, right? If I'm doing a blog post, I personally use a lot of screenshots, because the type of content I write is a lot more like teaching you how to do something. But I strongly suggest in unique imagery for 2 reasons. Number one, it's more engaging. People get a lot of value from images. So, whether that's getting some graphics done, you can get some cheap work done on Fiverr. Some nice graphic work done on Fiverr for $5, or whether that's photography imagery. If you got a nice phone, sometimes you can take them yourself. Or again, I use a lot of screenshots. So depending on the type of content that you're writing, screenshots are just as powerful. It's free and it's unique. So yes, I always use unique images.
Okay. Do we have more questions or something? Okay, thanks from Melissa. So I guess, yeah, okay, we do have another question.
What about meta description on a page? Is it still actual? So meta descriptions, it's a good question. Meta descriptions do not have an impact on rankings, right? I mean, you're not going to increase your rankings because of your meta description, but you should always 100% of the time fill them out, because what a meta description does is it's think of it like a sales pitch, right? If you're ranking for something, it's your chance to convince that searcher to click on your results. So I like to use the 156 characters to sell, right? So it's actually like a little bit of copywriting. It's kind of like writing a tweet, right? It's like, how can I get this person? How can I first of all understand what they are searching about? You know, because you kind of have to guess off the top of your head what they're searching about. How can I understand what they are searching about, what they're looking for, and how can I sell them on clicking on my results? So, you know, yes, always fill out a meta description. They do not have an impact on rankings, but they do have an impact on getting somebody to click on your results. So they are actual and they are still important.
Okay, looks like we do have another question.
What advice do you provide for IT business promotion? That's a good question. So again, I mean, think about it. You know, you're heavily B2B, right? You're selling to other business owners, and you have got you know, a very probably high level person that you're targeting. You're probably targeting people that are very high up in the organization that, you know, probably aren't going to be on Facebook. You know, so first of all, again, it's important to create content that speaks to them. So a lot of the content that I create is, you know, a little bit more low level. It's more engaging for all types of people. You know, I would suggest doing somewhat like a guide to, like a nice design guide to, you know, maybe like, I don't really know the IT business that well, but maybe like the IT ecosystem, you know, really helping them to understand kind of the IT ecosystem and everything, really speaking to them at their level, helping to understand. And then I would put it on like a slide share. I would get it on LinkedIn. I would promote it on LinkedIn. I would pay for some LinkedIn ads, because that's really where that type of audience is going to be. You know, again, like they're not going to be on an Instagram or a Twitter, but I would definitely push it hard on LinkedIn. I would find some LinkedIn communities. I would promote it from your own LinkedIn page, obviously. And I would do some outreach to help to get some more exposure on that LinkedIn. I mean, you can even post it on LinkedIn, right? I mean, LinkedIn has a great publishing platform. So again, I mean, it's really just going back to understanding who your target audience is and where they're hanging out, and how can you effectively communicate to their needs. So yeah, I mean, I would look at B2B type platforms and really understanding where those executive types are spending their time online.
Okay, you have another question from Ivan Karp.
What about HTML text ratio proportion? So you're talking about like I'm assuming that you're talking about like within the content, the context of the page. You know, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I would, you know, I would be more worried about like Flash and excess JavaScript and CSS and stuff like that. You know, again, Google's algorithm has just gotten so intelligent that it's really parsing code a lot better. You know, I would just focus on creating the best piece of content possible, and kind of let, you know, at the end do a review of the technical implications of it. But, you know, if you're just putting it on a blog, you know, that's not something you have to worry about, especially if it's like WordPress. I mean, they're already optimized to make sure that, you know, search engines can parse them properly. So that's not something that I would worry about too much.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for being with us. Thank you all, guys, for being tonight. Today depends on where you are. And goodbye.